Good evening to the souls who've been smiling in public and unraveling in private. You know what's wild? Some people really think peace is free. They think they can wound somebody, drain somebody, steal from somebody, break somebody, walk off with pieces of a person's heart, their trust, their time, their loyalty, their sanity, and then just move on like nothing happened. Like life is some cheap app where you can clear your history and pretend the damage never existed. But life doesn't work like that. Energy doesn't work like that. And deep down, you already know it. That's why the room gets louder when the lights go off. That's why the silence at night feels aggressive. That's why your chest gets tight when your phone stops buzzing and there's nothing left to distract you. Because in the daytime, you can fake it. You can post, you can laugh, you can act unbothered, you can tell people you're healing, you can say, it is what it is. You can dress the wound up in confidence and call it growth. But night strips the costume off. Night is honest. Night doesn't care about your captions. Night doesn't care about your filters. Night doesn't care how calm you looked in front of everybody else. Night sits you down in the dark and says, now tell the truth. And that's when it starts, doesn't it? That shaking, that weird feeling in your stomach, that pressure in your ribs like something invisible is sitting on your chest, that restless turning in bed, that random urge to check the door, check the window, check your messages, check nothing and everything at the same time. Because once those words hit you, once that warning entered your spirit, once that sentence landed like thunder in your bones, pay it back or pay in peace. Everything changed. Now suddenly, sleep doesn't feel innocent anymore. Now suddenly, rest feels expensive. Now suddenly, the things you thought you got away with don't feel buried. They feel awake. And let's be real, this isn't always about money. Sometimes what you took was way more valuable than money. You took someone's softness and replaced it with survival mode. You took someone's trust and taught them to flinch. You took someone's loyalty and paid them back with betrayal. You took someone's love and made them question their worth. You took someone's peace because you were at war with yourself. You took someone's light because your own darkness felt too heavy to carry alone. That's the part people hate hearing. Because it's easy to act clueless when the damage isn't visible. If there's no blood on the floor, people think there was no violence. But there are wounds you can't photograph. There are bruises that don't show up on skin. There are people walking around right now with their nervous system wrecked because of what somebody else normalized. And the scary part? A lot of folks knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were lying, knew they were manipulating, knew they were using, knew they were crossing lines, knew they were taking way more than they were giving. But they kept going because they thought they had time, thought they had excuses, thought apologies were cheat codes, thought silence erased debt, thought distance canceled consequences. It doesn't. It just delays the echo. And an echo is cruel because it comes back. That's what terrifies people when night falls. Not ghosts, not demons, not some horror movie fantasy. The echo, the memory, the replay, the exact moment they realize the bill still exists. See, people love to flex power when the other person is kind. They mistake kindness for weakness all the time. They think because somebody stayed calm, they were powerless. Because somebody didn't retaliate, they were defeated. Because somebody cried, they were fragile. Because somebody loved deeply, they were foolish. That's the biggest mistake a selfish person makes. They never understand what they were really standing in front of. They think they met a soft heart. What they really met was grace. And grace is dangerous to play with, because grace gives you time to fix what you broke. It gives you room to wake up. It gives you a chance to return what you stole before life collects with interest. But when you keep pushing, when you keep taking, when you keep smiling with dirty hands, when you keep walking around like somebody else's suffering is just collateral damage, that grace starts stepping back. And when grace steps back, truth steps in. Now all that fake peace you built starts shaking. Now every distraction gets weaker. Now every room feels a little colder. Now every achievement feels weirdly empty. Now the applause doesn't hit the same. Now your food tastes bland. Now your sleep gets thin. Now the mirror gets harder to look into for too long. Because peace cannot live where theft is still hiding. You can decorate your life all you want. You can get the car, get the relationship, get the money, get the followers, get the fresh start, get the new era, get the image, get the validation. But if your hands are full of what doesn't belong to you, your soul will know. That's why some people have everything and still live like they're being chased. Because they are, by the truth. And the truth does not sprint. It stalks, slow, patient, unblinking. It waits until the party is over, until the notifications die down, until the house is quiet, until you finally have no one left to perform for. Then it pulls up a chair at the edge of your bed and asks one simple question. Was it worth it? Was it worth their tears? Was it worth their confusion? Was it worth the years you shaved off their peace? Was it worth the self-doubt you planted in somebody who used to be whole? Was it worth becoming the reason another human being had to rebuild from scratch? That question hits different in the dark, because darkness removes the audience. And without an audience, all that's left is you. Just you and the parts of yourself you've been dodging. Just you and the memory of every red flag you ignored in yourself. Just you and the truth that maybe the real reason you're shaking at night is not because somebody cursed you. Maybe it's because somewhere inside, you know what you did. You know what you took. You know what you owe. And let me tell you something brutal. Knowing is heavier than being accused. Because when people accuse you, you can defend yourself. You can argue. You can twist the story. You can play victim. You can say they're bitter. You can call them obsessed. You can make them look crazy. But when your own spirit knows, that's different. You can't block your conscience. You can't mute your soul. You can't unfollow the truth. It will sit with you. It will breathe behind your thoughts. It will show up in random moments, in traffic, in the shower, in the middle of a joke, in the space between one heartbeat and the next. And suddenly you're not just tired, you're haunted by recognition. That's why some people keep themselves constantly busy. Always outside, always online, always talking, always drinking, always entertaining, always scrolling, always in somebody's face, always filling the silence with noise. Because silence is a witness. Silence remembers. Silence starts connecting dots you were hoping would stay scattered. And once those dots connect, the whole picture gets ugly fast. You start realizing the peace you lost isn't random. It's connected. The anxiety, the paranoia, the irritability, the defensiveness, the exhaustion, the weird fear with no obvious name, connected. Not because the universe is petty, but because balance matters, because what goes out has a way of circling back, because what you break in others doesn't just disappear into thin air, because pain has a frequency, because harm leaves fingerprints, because every action plants a seed, and not every seed blooms in daylight. Some bloom at 2:13 in the morning when your body is begging for sleep, and your mind suddenly starts replaying a face you haven't seen in months. Some bloom when you hear your own words coming out of somebody else's mouth and finally realize how cruel they sounded. Some bloom when life finally puts you in the exact position you once mocked someone else for being in. That's when it gets quiet. Real quiet. Because now you feel it from the other side. Now you understand why they went cold, why they withdrew, why they stopped explaining, why they disappeared, why their energy changed. Now you get it. Now it's your chest, your breath, your tears, your panic. And here's the part nobody likes but everybody needs. That fear you're feeling. It can either destroy you or wake you up. Because fear is not always punishment. Sometimes fear is the last mercy. Sometimes it's the final alarm before total collapse. Sometimes it's life giving you one more chance to get honest before everything fake in you starts rotting from the inside out. That shaking at night, it might be the last clean warning you get. So listen carefully. Not everybody who suffers is innocent. Not everybody who looks calm is pure. Not everybody who speaks spiritual language is healed. But when truth finds your name, stop wasting energy trying to outrun it. Face it. Because the strongest thing you can do is not act untouchable. The strongest thing you can do is admit the debt. That takes more courage than most people will ever have. Anybody can lie. Anybody can dodge. Anybody can spin the story. Anybody can gaslight. Anybody can pretend. But to stand there and say, yes, I did that. Yes, I broke that. Yes, I took that. Yes, I owe. That's where transformation begins. Not in aesthetics, not in fake enlightenment, not in posting quotes about growth, not in calling yourself misunderstood. In accountability, real accountability. The kind that costs your ego something. The kind that doesn't just say, sorry, because the consequences got uncomfortable. The kind that actually returns what it can. The kind that stops romanticizing damage and starts repairing it. And no, sometimes you cannot restore things perfectly. Sometimes the person you hurt does not want your apology. Sometimes the relationship is done. Sometimes the trust is ashes. Sometimes the bridge is gone. Sometimes the season has passed. That does not cancel the debt. It just means your lesson is bigger now. Because paying it back is not always about getting let back in. Sometimes paying it back means becoming the kind of person who never does that to another soul again. Sometimes paying it back means telling the truth where you used to hide. Sometimes paying it back means giving credit where you stole it. Sometimes paying it back means leaving people better instead of emptier. Sometimes paying it back means finally breaking the pattern you inherited and kept weaponizing. Because let's be honest, a lot of broken people don't just bleed on others by accident. They turn their wounds into methods. They say, that's just how I am. No, that's how you stayed. They say, everybody hurts people. No, everybody has the capacity to hurt people. Not everybody chooses to stay careless. They say, I was hurting too. And that may be true, but your pain is not a permission slip to become a storm in someone else's life. Read that again in your spirit. Your pain explains some things. It does not excuse everything. And once you understand that, your whole life shifts. Because then you stop worshipping your own damage. You stop acting like being wounded gives you the right to wound. You stop confusing trauma with identity. You stop making a throne out of your brokenness and calling it personality. You get up. You look yourself in the face. And you start doing the work nobody can clap for yet. The ugly work, the quiet work, the work where nobody's reposting your progress, the work where you have to sit with what you've done without flinching away every 5 seconds. The work where you have to unlearn the thrill of power, manipulation, cruelty, avoidance, emotional theft. That's the work that gives you your life back, not performative change, not fake softness, not saying all the right words with the same rotten habits underneath. I'm talking about a real internal shift, the kind where you can finally lay down without feeling hunted by your own choices, the kind where your body stops bracing for invisible consequences, the kind where night stops feeling like a courtroom. Because that's what so many people want, isn't it? Not just sleep, peace, actual peace, not sedation, not exhaustion, not passing out from burnout, not distracting yourself until your body gives up. Peace, the kind that lets your nervous system unclench, the kind that lets you breathe without guilt sitting on your lungs, the kind that lets silence feel soft again instead of threatening, the kind that lets you exist without constantly checking over your shoulder, spiritually or emotionally. That kind of peace is priceless, and it cannot be stolen. It can only be built honestly. That's why some people are rich and restless, desired and disturbed, surrounded and still lonely, successful and still weirdly afraid. Because external wins cannot bribe internal truth. You cannot luxury your way out of spiritual debt. You cannot romance your way out of moral failure. You cannot brand your way out of what your soul already recorded. So if the warning has reached you, don't waste it. Don't sit there getting mad at the messenger. Don't obsess over who said it, how they said it, what tradition it came through, whether it was mystical enough, dramatic enough, poetic enough. That's ego buying time. The real question is simpler. What have you been carrying that isn't yours? Whose peace have you interrupted? Whose voice did you silence? Whose love did you exploit? Whose loyalty did you misuse? Whose dignity did you chip away at because your own emptiness was screaming? Find it, name it, because unnamed darkness stays powerful. Once you name a thing, you can no longer hide behind confusion. And once you stop hiding, the next step becomes obvious. Return what you can. Return the money, return the credit, return the honesty, return the apology, return the acknowledgement, return the respect, return the truth, return the space, return the decency, return the version of yourself that no longer feeds on other people's trust like it's free fuel. Do not wait until life humiliates you into wisdom. Do not wait until the same pain circles back wearing your name. Do not wait until your own heart becomes the place consequences come to live. Because they do circle back. Maybe not in the same form, maybe not on your schedule, maybe not in front of the same audience. But energy has a strange sense of direction. It knows addresses pride, likes to forget. And when it arrives, all the swagger in the world won't protect you. That's why the smart ones humble themselves early. That's why the strong ones correct themselves before collapse. That's why the rare ones hear the warning and move different immediately. Because real power is not the ability to dominate. Real power is the ability to confront yourself, to walk into the darkest room in your own soul and not turn away, to hold your own gaze without excuses, to say, This ends with me. This cycle ends with me. This manipulation ends with me. This betrayal ends with me. This emotional hunger that keeps eating through other people's peace ends with me. This habit of taking what I didn't earn ends with me. That is power. That is menace in its highest form. Not the cheap menace of intimidation, the terrifying power of a person who became honest. Because once you become honest, you become dangerous to every lie that once ruled you. You stop being easy to tempt, easy to provoke, easy to bait, easy to control through ego and appetite. You become grounded, you become clear, you become someone who doesn't need to steal energy because your own spirit is no longer bankrupt. And that right there is the shift. That right there is where the night starts changing. Slowly, the bed doesn't feel like a battlefield anymore. The dark doesn't feel like it's breathing at you anymore. The silence doesn't accuse the same way anymore. Not because you escaped, because you addressed it. That's what most people miss. Peace isn't found by running from the bill. Peace is found by settling it. And settling it is not weakness. It is one of the hardest, coldest, cleanest things a human being can do. So if you've been shaking at night, don't just call it bad vibes. Ask better questions. What is your spirit trying to drag into the light? What debt has your ego been trying to bury? What truth has been pacing at the foot of your bed, waiting for you to stop pretending you don't hear it? Because once you hear it clearly, you've got a choice. You can keep living split in half, pretty on the outside, panicked on the inside, or you can become whole. And becoming whole will cost you. It will cost you pride. It will cost you excuses. It will cost you the fake version of yourself that survives on image. It will cost you the story where you are always the victim and never the cause. Good. Let it cost you. Some prices are mercies in disguise. Better to lose your ego than lose your peace. Better to lose your mask than lose your mind. Better to pay back what you owe than spend the rest of your life sleeping with one eye open, waiting for a silence you can't control to expose everything you tried to outrun. So when the room gets quiet tonight, when the darkness leans in, when that restless feeling starts crawling through your chest again, don't numb it, don't scroll over it, don't laugh it off, don't call 3 people just to drown it out. Sit there, hear it, let the truth finish its sentence. And when it does, move. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, not when your image can survive it, not when it hurts less. Move while your soul is still soft enough to listen. Move while you still have the grace to choose correction over collapse. Move while the warning is still a whisper and not a wrecking ball. Because in the end, everybody wants the same thing when the lights go out. A calm chest, a quiet mind, a bed that doesn't feel like judgment, a night that doesn't feel cursed, a soul that isn't flinching from itself. And that kind of peace only comes when your hands are finally clean.
Good. Let them whisper. Let them lean in when your name gets mentioned like it carries static in the air. Let them look at each other with that fake calm, that fake smile, that fake little nod people do when panic is crawling up their spine, but their ego won't let it show. Because that silence, that cold, weird, heavy silence, it did not appear out of nowhere. You earned that, not by begging, not by fitting in, not by being safe. You earned it by becoming the one thing weak people never know how to deal with. A person they cannot control. That is what this is really about. Not hate, not drama, not misunderstanding. Control. You thought they blacklisted you because they were smarter than you, more powerful than you, more connected than you. Nah. They blacklisted you because they felt something crack the moment you stopped playing your assigned role. The second you stopped shrinking yourself to make mediocre people comfortable. The second you stopped asking for permission to breathe in rooms built to suffocate you. The whole game changed. And they felt it. See, people love you when your light is decorative, when it helps their image, when it makes their room look warmer, when it makes them feel like they're surrounded by talent, by energy, by potential. But the moment your light starts exposing people, exposing lies, exposing fake power, exposing the whole fragile little setup they built on manipulation and image management, suddenly you're too much. Suddenly you're dangerous. Suddenly you're hard to work with. Suddenly there are whispers, delays, cold shoulders, invitations that stop, messages that dry up, doors that used to open start acting like they were never unlocked in the first place. And that's when most people break. That's when most people start doubting themselves, start apologizing for having a pulse, start replaying every conversation, every text, every look, trying to figure out what they did wrong. Start negotiating with people who were never confused in the first place. But not you, not anymore, because now you understand what that blacklist really is. It is not proof that you failed. It is proof that you interrupted somebody's comfort. It is proof that your existence started costing dishonest people sleep. It is proof that the version of you they could use, manage, label, and predict is dead, and dead things do not come back. That is why fear took over. Not because you got louder. Sometimes the most terrifying thing you ever did was go quiet. Real quiet. Not defeated quiet. Dangerous quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when a person stops explaining themselves, stops defending themselves, stops trying to be seen by blind people, stops knocking on doors that secretly enjoyed watching them wait outside. That quiet shook them, because people know the difference between someone who is silent because they are broken and someone who is silent because they are building. One feels sad. The other feels like standing too close to a locked room full of fire. You became that locked room. And let's talk about what really scares them. It is not your anger. People can handle anger. Anger is loud. Anger is easy to point at, easy to label, easy to provoke. What scares them is your clarity. That cold, surgical clarity that shows up after betrayal, burns all the softness out of your confusion. That moment when you finally see the pattern, the setup, the fake support, the strategic compliments, the selective silence, the way they smiled in your face and audited your potential behind your back. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And once you stop being naive, everybody who benefited from your innocence starts panicking. Because innocence is profitable to the wrong people. Your self-doubt fed them. Your over-explaining fed them. Your need to be understood fed them. Your habit of giving one more chance, one more benefit of the doubt, one more late-night paragraph trying to save a connection that was built to drain you from the start. All of that fed them. Then one day, it stopped. That's the day your name turned into a threat. You want to know why the room went dead silent? Because people who rely on influence, image, hierarchy, and whispered alliances know exactly what happens when someone they tried to erase survives without their approval. That breaks the mythology, that ruins the illusion, that tells everybody watching that the gatekeepers are not gods. They're just scared people in expensive packaging, and nothing terrifies fake power more than a person who no longer worships it. You reached a place most people never reach, a place where rejection stopped sounding like a verdict and started sounding like redirection, a place where betrayal stopped looking personal and started looking predictable, a place where being excluded stopped humiliating you and started educating you. That shift right there, that's lethal, because when you stop taking disrespect personally, you start studying it. You start reading rooms better. You start hearing what isn't said. You start noticing who only supports you when you're convenient, who disappears when you elevate, who gets weird when you stop needing them, who can clap for strangers but choke on your growth. That knowledge changes your walk. Now your eyes are different. Your energy is different. Even when you say nothing, people can feel that you're no longer available for emotional scams, social games, fake mentorship, borrowed validation, or low-budget loyalty. That is why fear took over. They were okay with your talent, as long as it came with self-doubt. They were okay with your ambition as long as it came with hesitation. They were okay with your voice as long as it shook. They were okay with your future as long as it stayed theoretical. But then something happened. Life hit you hard enough to knock the performance out of you. Pain cleaned you up. Disappointment taught you pattern recognition. Humiliation taught you detachment. Loneliness taught you self-respect. And now you don't move like a person trying to be chosen. You move like a person choosing. That changes everything. See, the world has a script for people like you. Stay gifted, but insecure. Stay useful, but grateful. Stay impressive, but dependent. Stay hungry, but never fed enough to love the table. Stay close, but never powerful enough to stop needing the invitation. That was the deal, and you broke it. You started feeding yourself, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. You started building discipline where you once had desperation. You started building standards where you once had tolerance. You started building strategy where you once had pure emotion. Now you are harder to bait, harder to read, harder to stop. And that is the part nobody says out loud. A lot of people do not fear failure. They fear independence. They fear what happens when someone they underestimated becomes self-sourced. When someone they mocked develops focus. When someone they excluded builds something with no applause, no cosign, no safety net, no audience clapping every 5 minutes to keep them going. That person is a problem. That person cannot be starved the old way. And you became that problem. Remember how they acted when you were available all the time. When your boundaries were soft, your heart was open, your standards were negotiable, your schedule was touchable, your peace was accessible, your energy was public property. They were comfortable then. They knew how to approach you. They knew what version of you they could extract from. But the new you make people nervous because now access costs something. Now your time is guarded, your attention is selective, your trust is expensive, your silence means something, your absence means something, your refusal means something, your eye contact means something. Everything about you started carrying weight. And weak people can feel weight, even when they pretend not to. So yes, they blacklisted you. Good. Let that sink in. Good. Because some rooms deserve to lose access to you forever. Some people only know how to value what they can no longer reach. Some systems only reveal themselves when they decide to punish your non-compliance. Some circles are so rotten that getting rejected by them is the clearest sign you are still alive inside. You were never supposed to be digestible. You were never supposed to fit neatly into somebody else's little narrative. You were never supposed to become a polished pet for people with dead eyes and empty praise. You were supposed to become undeniable, not lovable by everybody, not safe for everybody, undeniable. And undeniable people always disturb the room before they dominate it. That is the season you are in, right now. The disturbing season, the misunderstood season, the season where your growth makes average people gossip because gossip is cheaper than discipline. The season where your absence creates more noise than your presence ever did. The season where people who ignored you start monitoring you. The season where your name keeps showing up in conversations you were never invited to. Pay attention to that. When people start discussing you in rooms you have never entered, it means your energy arrived before your body did. It means your impact traveled without permission. It means your becoming has started leaking through the walls. That is power, not popularity. Power. Popularity wants to be liked. Power changes the temperature, and you right now are changing the temperature. That is why they're unsettled, because they tried to turn your isolation into your ending. They thought if enough doors closed, you would collapse into self-erasure. They thought if enough people withdrew at once, you would confuse abandonment with truth. They thought the silence would make you beg. Instead, the silence introduced you to yourself. That's the part they never calculated. They never calculated what would happen if you actually used the pain. If you actually sat with the humiliation and learned from it, instead of drowning in it. If you took every moment you were overlooked, every time you were played with, every time they passed you over, every time they smiled while quietly trying to lower your ceiling, and turned it into fuel. Now you think sharper. Now you move smarter. Now you trust slower. Now you build deeper. Now your ambition is not cute. It's territorial, and people can feel that. You can walk into a room smiling and still make insecure people uncomfortable because they sense the steel under your calm. They sense that you are not here to be managed, not here to worship titles, not here to bow to politics, not here to participate in fake humility, just to protect fragile egos from the reality of what you carry. You carry presence now, not the desperate kind, not the loud kind, presence with teeth, the kind that makes people second-guess their own performance, the kind that forces masks to tighten, the kind that reminds pretenders their reign only works on people still asleep. You woke up, so now let them be afraid. Not because you need revenge. Revenge is still a form of attachment. You are past that. You do not need to chase people who tried to reduce you. You do not need to prove your value to anybody who needed your insecurity in order to feel superior. You do not need to stage some dramatic comeback speech for people who were committed to misunderstanding you from the beginning. Your response is far more terrifying than revenge. Your response is elevation. Your response is composure. Your response is building something so solid that the same people who tried to blacklist your name eventually hear it echoed through places they can't block, can't influence, can't poison, can't reach. That is how you win. Not by screaming, by becoming, not by reacting, by positioning, not by begging to re-enter old rooms, by outgrowing the architecture. That's what they feel coming. That's what made the room go cold. Because fear is not just fear of what you are. Sometimes it is fear of what you are about to become. Fear of how expensive their disrespect is going to look in hindsight. Fear of the moment they realize they had a chance to stand beside something rare and instead chose pettiness, politics, and ego. Too bad. That invoice is coming due. And you are done shrinking the energy just to make the story less intense for the people who wronged you. No. Let the story be intense. Let it sound unreal. Let it sound like the kind of thing people whisper, because saying it too loud makes them confront their own cowardice. Because the truth is, you did not disappear when they blacklisted you. You multiplied in private. Every lonely night did something to you. Every disrespectful moment did something to you. Every fake friend, every delayed opportunity, every patronizing smile, every time they treated your potential like it was negotiable, every time they assumed you would stay dependent, every time they tried to lock you out and call it fate. Every single one of those moments added pressure. And pressure is dangerous when it hits the right soul. It either crushes a person or creates force. Look at yourself. You are still here. Different, yes. Colder in the right places, yes. Less naive, absolutely. Harder to impress, definitely. But still here. Still rising, still thinking, still creating. Still carrying that thing inside you they could not bury, no matter how coordinated the silence became. That means something. That means the blacklist failed. It may have hurt. It may have slowed a few things down. It may have cost you people, comfort, and illusions you weren't ready to lose. But it did not kill the mission. It revealed the mission. Now you know this was never about joining their table. It was about building your own gravity, becoming so real, so disciplined, so focused, so emotionally rooted that your name no longer needs introduction. It arrives with a feeling, a tension, a memory, a warning, a possibility. That is what your life becomes when you stop chasing validation and start manufacturing value. And value is quiet at first. Then it becomes impossible to ignore. So let them sit in that silence. Let them remember the moment they thought cutting you off would cut your future off too. Let them replay the arrogance. Let them replay the underestimation. Let them replay all the little ways they tried to frame your resistance as arrogance, your self-respect as attitude, your distance as bitterness, your standards as ego. People always mislabel what they cannot manipulate. Remember that. They called you difficult because obedience was easier for them. They called you intense because your honesty disrupted their little games. They called you intimidating because your self-possession made their performance look cheap. They called you unstable because they could not predict your next move anymore. None of that was truth. That was branding. That was damage control. That was weak people trying to write your story before you did. But look what happened. You kept writing anyway. Every day you refused to fall.
To the ones they secretly study, judge, and resent from a distance, this one is for you. They call you arrogant, only when your intelligence makes them feel small. Let that sink in. Not when you are wrong. Not when you are reckless. Not when you are loud for no reason. No, They reach for that word when your presence hits something fragile inside them, when the way you think exposes how little they've questioned themselves, when your clarity makes their confusion feel embarrassing, when your calm makes their chaos look cheap, when your discipline makes their excuses sound pathetic. That's when the label comes out, arrogant. And the crazy part is, half the time you weren't even trying to prove anything. You were just existing at your level. You were just speaking with precision. You were just noticing what everybody else was too lazy, too scared, or too slow to notice. You were just refusing to play dumb so insecure people could stay comfortable. That's all it takes, because people love confidence until it arrives without apology. They love intelligence until it stops entertaining them and starts revealing them. They love honesty until it points in their direction. They love sharp minds until those minds stop shrinking themselves to protect weak egos. And you've seen this before. You walk into a room and you can feel it. You don't even have to say much. Sometimes it's in the silence. Sometimes it's in the way they look at each other after you speak. Sometimes it's in the fake laugh. Sometimes it's in that weird little comment wrapped in a joke. Sometimes it's, damn, you always gotta sound so smart. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it's, bro, relax. Sometimes it's, you think you know everything. No, you just know what you know. And they hate how solid that feels. Because when somebody has built their whole identity on being the loudest person in the room, the funniest person in the room, the most liked person in the room, the most socially safe person in the room, and then you show up with substance, with depth, with real mental weight, suddenly their whole little performance starts shaking. That's what they never admit. Your intelligence doesn't just threaten people academically. It threatens them emotionally. It threatens the story they tell themselves about who matters, who leads, who gets admired, who deserves to be listened to. And when your mind enters the conversation, that story starts cracking. So they don't say, "You make me feel insecure." They don't say, "Your presence exposes where I've been lazy." They don't say, "You remind me of the version of myself I never had the courage to become." They don't say, "I feel threatened because you don't need my approval." No, that would require honesty. That would require self-awareness. That would require guts. So instead, they call you arrogant, because it's easier to villainize your confidence than confront their insecurity. It's easier to paint you as the problem than admit they feel outclassed. It's easier to call your self-respect an attitude than admit they've spent their whole life begging for external validation. And you need to hear this clearly. You are not arrogant for being hard to manipulate. You are not arrogant for seeing through fake energy. You are not arrogant for being articulate. You are not arrogant for thinking before you speak. You are not arrogant for refusing to water yourself down just so mediocre people can feel tall around you. That's not arrogance. That's self-possession. That's awareness. That's earned confidence. That's what happens when you've suffered enough to stop asking permission to be powerful. See, real arrogance is loud and hollow. Real arrogance needs attention every 5 seconds. Real arrogance crumbles the second it gets challenged. Real arrogance is all surface, all costume, all performance, all bark with no bite. But you've had to build your mind in the dark. That's different. You know what it feels like to be misunderstood before you were admired. You know what it feels like to have ideas nobody around you could carry. You know what it feels like to be 10 conversations ahead, while people around you are still stuck in gossip, noise, and survival habits. You know what it feels like to realize that being mentally sharp can be lonely, because a lot of people don't actually want truth. They want comfort. They want easy. They want simple little stories where nobody has to grow and nobody has to feel exposed. But growth is exposure. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is humiliating before it becomes empowering. Growth forces you to face how much time you wasted, how many lies you believed, how many people you shrank for, how many rooms you betrayed yourself in just to seem cool, humble, easygoing, normal. And maybe that's why you disturb them now, because you're not playing that game anymore. You're not over-explaining your intelligence so people won't feel weird. You're not pretending not to notice what you notice. You're not acting confused just to make someone else feel smart. You're not dimming your language, your awareness, your instincts, your standards, your boundaries, your questions, your discipline, your focus. You've done that before. You've played small before. You've sat there and watched somebody less capable speak over you. Because you didn't want to seem intimidating. You've held back your insight, so insecure people could keep their social comfort. You've laughed things off. You've nodded when you should have challenged. You've acted like you didn't see the manipulation. You've swallowed your perspective because you were tired of being treated like your depth was some kind of offense. And where did that get you? Drained, resentful, unseen, underestimated, surrounded by people who loved the version of you that betrayed you. That version had to die. Because there comes a point where being digestible becomes self-destruction. There comes a point where constantly making yourself easier for others to handle becomes a form of disrespect against your own potential. There comes a point where you realize that people are not rewarding your humility. They're exploiting your restraint. Read that again in your spirit. They are not rewarding your humility. They are exploiting your restraint. A lot of people do not want access to your brilliance. They want control over it. They want you smart enough to help them, but not strong enough to challenge them. They want you sharp enough to solve problems, but not bold enough to question their authority. They want your insight when it benefits them, and your silence when it threatens them. That's the trap. They'll praise you when your intelligence is useful, then shame you when your intelligence becomes undeniable. They'll clap for your gifts as long as those gifts stay on a leash. But the minute you stand in them fully, suddenly you've changed. Suddenly you're too intense. Suddenly you're hard to talk to. Suddenly you act different. No, you just stopped shrinking, and people take your healing personally when their power depended on your insecurity. That's one of the coldest truths in life. A lot of the tension you feel from others is not because you did something wrong. It's because your evolution interrupted the version of you they had access to. The quiet one, the unsure one, the people-pleasing one, the one who second-guessed themselves, the one who needed approval, the one who tolerated disrespect just to keep the peace. But now your eyes are different. Now your words land different. Now your silence is heavier. Now you don't chase. Now you don't fold. Now you don't hand out access just because somebody wants it. Now you can feel fake energy almost instantly. Now you can smell insecurity behind a smile. Now you hear envy hidden inside concern. Now you see passive aggression for what it is, fear wearing makeup. And some people cannot handle that version of you because they can no longer control the narrative. Before, they could define you. Now they have to deal with you. Big difference. Because once you know who you are, labels stop working the same. Once you know your value, insults start sounding like projections. Once you've done the internal work, other people's opinions lose that magical little power they used to have over your nervous system. You stop panicking. You stop performing. You stop trying to make your truth look polite enough to be accepted by people committed to misunderstanding you anyway. That freedom scares people. You want to know why? Because most people are trapped. Trapped in approval addiction, trapped in social theater, trapped in fake humility, trapped in image management, trapped in the exhausting cycle of saying what sounds good instead of saying what's real. And when they see you moving with less fear, less apology, less neediness, it agitates them because now your existence becomes a mirror. And mirrors are brutal. Mirrors don't attack, they reveal. That's why some people can't stand being around someone who is mentally strong. Not because strength is cruel, but because strength reflects weakness without trying. Your standards reflect their lack of discipline. Your focus reflects their distractions. Your clarity reflects their confusion. Your vocabulary reflects their shallow thinking. Your emotional control reflects their instability. Your self-respect reflects the ways they keep abandoning themselves for crumbs. And that reflection burns. It burns especially hard in people who thought charm could replace substance. In people who built their whole life on image, not depth. In people who confuse being liked with being solid. In people who rely on volume because they don't have weight. In people who keep calling others arrogant because deep down, they know they've never truly respected themselves. So listen carefully. You do not need to become softer so broken people can stop feeling threatened. You do not need to become less precise so lazy minds can keep up. You do not need to smile more while being disrespected. You do not need to package your intelligence in cute little harmless ways just to survive other people's insecurity. That survival strategy has an expiration date. At some point, you have to choose. Do you want to be accepted by people who misunderstand power? Or do you want to become the fullest version of yourself? Because you cannot keep both forever. The world will constantly tempt you to trade truth for likability, to trade depth for social ease, to trade authority for approval, to trade your edge for applause. Don't do it. Applause is cheap. Alignment is priceless. Being liked by people who need you, diluted, is not a win. It's a trap with a nice filter on it. And some of you already know that because you've lived it. You've been in the friend group where your intelligence had to wear handcuffs. You've been at the job where your ideas got stolen. Then your confidence got questioned. You've been in the relationship where every time you spoke with clarity, they called you cold. You've been around family members who said you were doing too much the moment you started thinking bigger than the box they accepted. That wasn't love. That was containment. And containment always pretends to be concern. Be humble. Don't think too highly of yourself. You're not better than anybody. Why are you always so serious? Calm down. Relax. You always gotta be right. Sometimes those phrases sound innocent. Sometimes they even sound wise. But in the mouth of an insecure person, they become weapons. They become little social tools designed to push you back into your cage. because your freedom makes them confront their own cowardice. That's the part nobody says out loud. When you stop shrinking, people who stayed small on purpose feel exposed. When you stop doubting yourself, people who built their influence on your self-doubt get nervous. When you sharpen your mind, tighten your boundaries, clean up your habits, upgrade your standards, suddenly people who used to feel comfortable around you start feeling weird. Good. Let them. Not everybody is meant to feel comfortable around your evolution. Some people only liked you when you were easier to outshine. Some people only felt close to you when you were confused. Some people only felt generous when you were beneath them. Some people only felt safe when they believed they had the upper hand. And once that illusion dies, their behavior changes. That's why envy often arrives dressed as critique. It sounds smarter that way, cleaner that way, more socially acceptable that way. Instead of saying, "I hate how powerful you're becoming," they say, "You've changed." Instead of saying, "I feel inferior around you," they say, "You're arrogant." Instead of saying, "Your growth is forcing me to look at my stagnation," they say, "You think you're all that." That translation matters, because once you understand the language of insecure people, you stop taking their projections personally. You start decoding. Who do you think you are? A person who finally remembered. You've got a big ego. No, I've got standards now. You think you're smarter than everyone. No, I think deeply, and that scares people who live shallow. You're too intense. No, you're too committed to staying surface level. You always make people uncomfortable. No, truth makes liars uncomfortable. Discipline makes the lazy uncomfortable. Boundaries make users uncomfortable. Confidence makes the insecure uncomfortable. That is not your crime. That is your signal. It means your presence is doing what weak energy hates most, interrupting illusion. And once you realize that, you stop wasting your life trying to look harmless. You stop sanding down your edges for people who still won't love you right. You stop over-explaining your tone to people who were never listening for understanding. You stop defending your confidence to people determined to interpret self-respect as rebellion. You stop begging to be seen fairly by people invested in seeing you falsely. That's when your power gets cleaner, not louder, cleaner. Because true power doesn't need theater. It doesn't need 10 speeches a day. It doesn't need fake dominance. It doesn't need to announce itself every 5 minutes. It just stands there, solid, composed, aware, unmoved. And that kind of energy rattles people more than shouting ever could. A quiet, intelligent person with boundaries is one of the most terrifying things in the world to a manipulative person, because now they can't rush you. They can't confuse you. They can't bait you. They can't guilt you. They can't outtalk you. They can't make you forget what you saw. They can't sell you nonsense with a smile and expect you to clap. You see the pattern. You clock the motive. You hear the subtext. You catch the inconsistency. You notice the mask slipping, and you do it without panicking. That calm observation alone makes people spiral. Why? Because people get away with a lot in this world by counting on others being distracted, insecure, emotionally desperate, or mentally lazy. The minute you become none of those things, you become dangerous to every false structure around you. And maybe that's exactly what you were meant to become. Not cruel, not heartless, not unreachable, dangerous to lies, dangerous to manipulation, dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to every voice that ever tried to train you to doubt your own mind. You were never supposed to stay mentally small just because smaller people feel safer that way. Your mind is a weapon when it is disciplined. Your voice is a weapon when it is clear. Your silence is a weapon when it is intentional. Your standards are a weapon when they are consistent. Your refusal to fold is a weapon when the world expected you to beg. And that doesn't mean you become arrogant for real. It means you become rooted. That's different. Rooted people don't need to stunt. They don't need to fake. They don't need to posture. They don't need to dominate every room. They just know. They know who they are. They know what they see. They know what they bring. They know what they will no longer tolerate. They know the cost of abandoning themselves, and they are never paying that price again. That certainty offends people who are still negotiating their worth with the crowd. So let them talk. Let them call you intimidating. Let them call you arrogant. Let them call you difficult. Let them whisper. Let them misread you. Let them build little group chats around your name. Let them perform their discomfort like your confidence is violence. None of that changes what's true. And what's true is this. You built something in yourself they cannot reach through guilt. You built a mind that does not bow easily. You built perception. You built standards. You built inner weight. You built a relationship with solitude strong enough to break your addiction to weak company. You built discernment sharp enough to save your future from people who only liked your old confusion. That matters more than being understood by everybody. Everybody is not qualified to understand you. Some people only understand noise. Some people only understand weakness. Some people only feel safe around predictability. Some people only respect what they can control. So of course they misread depth. Of course they fear self-possession. Of course they call intelligence arrogance. They don't have the range for anything else. But you do. So keep going. Keep reading deeper. Keep sharpening your mind. That is, keep speaking with intention. Keep building language around what you know. Keep refining your discipline. Keep practicing emotional control. Keep becoming the kind of person who doesn't need a room full of applause to trust their own instincts.